I when we played ball last week, it was kind of I didn't do nothing like fall on nothing or nothing like that. I was just playing ball, and then afterwards it was like iffy, and then kind of like a little stiffness or whatever. But then I came home, everything was good. Then I did some like working out because I've been on the road or whatever. So and I usually try to do some kind of workout when I'm at home. But I did some when I got home, and the problem was I did it the day before I went to go play ball. So probably what I'm thinking is between that working out and then going to play ball, my joints just like, bro, what did you do, bro? Like, why would you put us through this?
I wish you realized you was not 25 no more, dude. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
You is not. Just let it go.
I can't. This how I stay at least where I'm at. Like, I'm proud to be 185 and 190 pounds. Like, it's hard to do that at this age.
That's the truth. That is the honest to God truth.
Folks see this
Okay.
interview, they don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's real. That's for real, for real.
What's going
Okay,
on though?
man, keeping it moving, trying to, keep stuff, keep my focus with all that is happening because it seems like it's not happening as quickly. We talked about this before,
Hmm.
but I'm trying to keep focused and keep moving forward with all this that I want to do because it's a lot of moving parts and stuff to it. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
here's a little motivation right here. So, you're ready for it all to happen, to all to come together. But when it's time, it's time. And
Yeah.
you and nobody else gonna be able to rush it.
Yeah.
So all we got to do is just keep working, keep preparing, keep doing what we need to do to make sure that when it is time, we're prepared for everything to go for. So we're gonna be all good.
Let's go on and dive into it. So, first of all, have you seen the post that everybody? Well, I don't know if everybody, but the Yaya post.
I've seen
Okay.
a few different ones. I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
So the latest one, I guess I don't know who is who and who she's addressing because she didn't state any names. But she's talking about, she said something along the lines of like a few big names are putting okay, I'm gonna read it. So she said a few artists with big names are putting a lot of energy and effort into putting more quote unquote local names in their places. If we're so beneath you and you're so unbothered with what all the posts that shows we clearly live in your head rent free, a bunch, she's like, you guys are being basically a bunch of bullies. And then she said, the truth is, you all need us, fear us, and you feel out of control when we don't basically tamper to fall to the knees and come to you for anything. You're seeing that we don't need to be accepted into your septic tank of a circle to gain traction. Y'all are panicking. We are actively and literally changing the game right in front of your faces. And instead of working with us, you're leaning on these old school Chicago gangster tactics that are washed up as fuck. Gatekeeping the interest while watching us construct our own bridge is crazy, but go off. Y'all got it. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't, but I'm not gonna say names on who she talking to or talking about per se, and I don't even know exactly for sure
Right.
who he's talking about. However, I have a big variety of ideas of the
Right.
people that this could be about.
Mhm.
However, this is an issue, you know what I mean? Because it's again, Yaya been on the scene and she's been on the scene within the last, I'll say 5 to 7 years.
Right.
You know, probably less than that. I don't know. It may be less than that. However, I've been here since 2011. That's the basically last 14 years. So all of what she's speaking of, I know for a fact it happens, and it goes on. And my thing about it is exactly that. Actually, my gripe is the same. A lot of times, I don't understand why, but when people get to a certain age, they start to fear change.
Yeah.
And instead of embracing it and going along with it and learning how to understand it and become one with it themselves, they just avoid it wash it off or brush it off and say it's not this and it's not that, and give their reasons for this and that, and then all of a sudden it's not, something that should be qualified to get the traction that it gets to them. You know what I mean? And that's a problem in this industry. You know what I mean? A lot of folks, uh, what the real problem is, are losing their edge to hang with the times in terms of musically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you feel that, let alone compete, but at least keep up, if you can't do that, you start feeling inadequate. And that inadequate start bringing in insecurities.
Yeah.
And those insecurities start projecting different hatred toward folk who's actually doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now you come off as a hater, you come off as this and that, and you don't even realize you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times, you know what I mean, what needs to happen, I heard a saying where if the young folks is not learning from the old folks and the old folks are not learning from young folks, there's no growth being done. There's no, the consistency of what something is going to change. Right. And it's going to change, and one is going to die, and then the other one is going to evolve. That's what's going to happen. Actually, what's going to die is whatever the elders deem worthy information or qualified things that should be passed along is not going to be passed along because they're being so stubborn that they're not giving it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're not actually telling us what it is or what's what or what's this. We got to go out here and figure it out for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? That right there is part of the problem. Any art, anything, whatever it is, it's going to die if you don't have the structure that it was built on, stay consistent to that structure. The moment it begins to interweb and becomes different, guess what? Now you have risk of something collapsing.
Yep, that's a fact.
Facts. I mean, you cannot build a bridge with a game plan that you built one before and then change that and expect it to be the same way. It's not going to be that way. Something is going to be different. Something is going to happen. And if it ain't carefully sought after, there's going to be a disaster. So at the end of the day, my point is exactly that. Like, instead of seeing us as threats, seeing us as people that, who don't understand, make us understand, help us understand, give us the tools to understand. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, right now, I talked to some people, and a guy just actually gave me a shout out, because I had this same kind of like particular conversation with him. And he's one of those, guys in that field of, feeling like he can't reach the youngest. And I told him exactly how. You will never be able to reach anything you are not exactly like yourself. It's got to be some kind of likeness in you to reach that person. At the end of the day, if you want to reach young folks, you can't come to them with an attitude that how you talk to your homeboys growing up. That is so far split. You know what I mean? Like, no, y'all, your language in between, the barrier in between that is so large. So there's a gap automatically. So that means that you got to kind of conform to figure out how to get to them and kind of speak their language a little bit so you can reach them. And then you got to understand their struggle. The moment you start knocking their struggle, you're going to lose them.
Yeah.
And I try to tell these folks that the moment you start stepping on their toes, start stepping on what they feel their qualities are, and you feel like it's not, you're going to lose them. There's a guy right now, and I'm going to say his name because he deserves all the praise, all the glory for this, because there's not just me who has this stamp of approval from him, but there's others. And if you get that stamp of approval, he saw something in you that said that you were going to be better than what you thought, even what you thought you were going to be. But his name is Brian Jones. We call him BJ for short. Okay. BJ is a local artist himself. He was a drummer. And I can't even say local, he's international, excuse me. That's so wrong to say that. He's international. He's played with a lot of big names, a lot of big, people. But towards the end of his days, he also did a security job, at the Kingston Mountain, which is how I met him. So he would be security there at night, but he'd also may get a gig at the same place, and he may be doing both at the same time. Like, that was that guy, you know what I mean? But anyway, when I met him, he saw something in me. He told me, man, if you really just take this serious, really take time honing in on your craft, man, I see you going far. And he didn't I got to tell you, his words were not untrue at all. Because at the end of the day, I did exactly that. I took it serious. I had my hiccups. I had the gatekeeping stuff happening. I had people lying on my name. I had people just doing all sorts of things to keep me from advancing. Because at the end of the day, I was a threat. I was a new guy coming in
Right.
on the scene
Right.
who they saw as a risk of trying to take somebody else's place or replace somebody. I ain't looking at it like that. There's enough work out here for everybody.
Facts. That part.
I'm just looking for my share of it. I'm not trying to step on nobody's toes, replace anybody, or push anybody out of any position. I found what's for me, and I'll stick with that. If something happened as to where somebody lost something, obviously I didn't have no control over that. Because
Right.
if you and another person that you were doing business with decided to stop doing business, how could I? You know what I mean? Like, and
Right.
this is how folks see it. Well, I don't want to, if you around now, he gonna be looking at you instead of looking at me. Well, that's your fault for not staying polished on your craft at the
Yeah.
end of the day. So, that's what a lot of this is about. You know what I mean? And it's sad to say, but that's where Yaya is coming from. You know
Okay.
what I mean? And it's going to keep being that. Because what also needs to be realized is this generation, and y'all not even a part of the newest generation who really don't give a, you know what I mean, what I
Right.
really want to say.
You can
That
just say
new
it. Go
generation, they
ahead.
really don't give a shit. Like, they don't
Yeah.
care about
Yeah.
no authority, nobody, no feelings, how
Yeah.
old you is, how old your mom is. They don't care about none of that. Yaya's in the generation, what, two generations before that. So, which is my generation.
Right.
We're like, at the end of the day, we're the level headed. I look at it as we're the level headed. We're the in betweeners, the ones who's coming out of the old generations, but we're tipping at that new generation
Right.
and still going into something. You know what I mean? We right in between all of it. All
Yeah.
this internet stuff, we part of the reason all of this stuff happened. So at
Mhm.
the end of the day, what I'm saying is, if they just learn to understand that it's all about respect and how you come to people,
Hello. Hello.
you can get whatever it is you're looking to get out of a person. But the moment you come crazy, again, we that generation where we gonna tell you, look, get out my face. I don't
Right.
care who you are, what you think you're doing,
Right.
how you think you're doing it. Shove all that in a certain place, and you can
Yeah.
get out my face. Like,
Yeah.
we don't care about all that. We it ain't about disrespect, but it's about respect all in the same. I'm not going to disrespect you if you're giving me that respect. Now, there are some people who just stupid, whatever. We can't account for those. But I'm talking about for people who just operate on humane basics, humane instincts on a daily basis. You're
Mhm.
not going to get that from most people. If you give it to them, they're going to give it back to you. So at the end of the day, that's my take on all of that. And I hope there can be a turnaround real soon and we can all start to see eye to eye and start working together so we can build and enhance the genre to live on further instead of just, it's kind of like what's going on with this government stuff, bro, for real.
Facts. One question I do. So first of all, tell me how many years you've been, particularly in the blues scene, but also at large a musician. And then
Okay, well,
from
I'll start.
there, hold on. And then from there, tell me your perspective because you know me. We've had this conversation focusing on Chicago blues. What differentiates Chicago blues from all the other ones?
Okay. Well, I'll start from where I start at where I started in music. I started as a little boy at 5 years old, and he's not my birth father, but he's the man that I feel that gave me a lot of the knowledge, helped me get to where I am, and put the very first set of drumsticks in my hand to even begin a journey in music. At 5 years old, a guy that was playing at the church that my father was playing at, he played organ. The drummer didn't show up, or he didn't even show up that day. And he was, service was going on, and he was, playing, but he was missing that beat, you know what I mean? And he looked over at me and he was like, get on the drums, and shoved the sticks in my hand. I'm looking at him like, what you expect me to do? I don't know what to do, 5 years old. But however, I got up there and I just, I ate the nervousness, the I ate it all and I just said forget it. And I went for what I thought was supposed to happen. And it turned out pretty good. So after that, that of course drew more interest in it. And over years I learned just, I just started to hone the skill, practicing, and then I, learned some stuff in high school, being a part of my high school band and all of that. So I
Okay.
just took all of that and made one, knowledge pot, learned a bunch of different things, and then met a different people along the journey who was doing it better than me. Watched them, and watched those who were even at a more higher professional level, and then I just took what I could and made it into a career, as we see. So I joined the blues, like I said, about 2011.
Okay.
Been on ever since then. It's been a wonderful career. Like I said, it has its ups and downs. It has its moments where there's a lot of laughter. It has its moments where there's some crying. You know what I'm saying? Anger and everything else. But, overall, I wouldn't change it. You know what I mean? I definitely do it the same way again. You know what I mean? With a lot of differences in it, of course,
Okay.
if I had that ability. But at the same time, nothing too much different than that. The difference between Chicago blues and I'm getting the experience right now as we speak of learning a lot of the other places or other locations with their style of blues. Um, Number one, first of all, Chicago has some of the best musicians, period. Like, that we on the map for that. Maybe third, fourth, maybe, I don't know, maybe second, I don't know where we are as far as leading the charts with musicians coming out of a certain place. You know what I mean? But however, I know we are on the map considerably when it comes to musicians coming from this place, and that alone started a lot of it started with gospel music, blues as well, but both hand in hand. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes. Say
Uh,
that. Say that.
both hand in hand. And a lot of people don't want to look at that or say that,
Yeah.
but I know some dudes who've been playing 30 years
Yeah.
blues and still play at church right now.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
so at the
Yeah.
end of the day, they go hand in hand. You know what I mean? And we just gonna stop sweeping that part under the rug. They go hand in
Please.
hand.
Please.
They're entities of each other. So at the end of the day, I'm one of the people who play blues and also play gospel music. So
Okay.
at the end of the day, when it just comes to musical talent here, Chicago is one of the best. You know
Okay.
what I mean? So that leading a factor musically in terms of people just playing. You get a group of guys who can really play, who can really, take a crowd and put them in the palm of their hand and just have them eating out of it all night long and give them a couple of hours and a couple of different songs. And I guarantee you they'll create a banging ass show out of it.
All right.
I guarantee you. You know what I'm saying? You just put them in a room. All the top guys that you feel your top guys, you put them in a room for about 5 hours, give them a little food, give them a little weed, a little drink, because
Right.
they got to do what they do. They got to get right. You know what I'm saying? They got to
Right.
be full all at the same time. Not too much because niggas gonna go to sleep first. Then they gonna wake up. Now you want the magic to happen first. Don't feed their ass before that. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, and I guarantee you, like, you're gonna get a banging ass show. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like, that's the biggest overhaul of it. Like,
Okay.
we are a city where we literally take our music to heart, like ready to fight you over it. Like, you ain't finna tell me this or tell me that about, and this is how some of these issues with these other things is going
Right.
on because niggas is just bullheaded. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to. You ain't telling me nothing. I got this instead of like, I OG, what you got? You know what I mean? Or I Young Buck, what you got? Whatever the case is. But like I said, that being like I've been to Florida more times than I've probably been a lot of places, and that's just been a recent. And Florida has great musicians. I'm not ever, and I will never take anything away from them. But just knowing what I grew up around and knowing what Chicago has to offer, like if I had to choose where to start a music career, Florida's not gonna be one. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Been in New York. I haven't really indulged a lot, haven't really met a lot of guys in New York. However, I am aware that New York is pretty, and pretty much a lot of that East Coast over there, they are pretty tough when it comes to musicians. However, they also look at us as, having some of the best musicians,
Yeah.
particularly, in our gospel arena alone. One guy from Chicago, from the heart of Chicago, South Side of Chicago, he led the gospel arena on it as a drummer and still somewhat is till this day. So at the end of the day, like, what I mean, it's about that playing style and the way we make it feel to you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And one thing about Chicago, we gonna make it feel real good. It's
Yes,
just,
indeed.
you gonna put your feet to, and catch a beat. And next thing you know, you up dancing. You might not ever have done that in your life. You
Right.
know what I mean? But if you come here and you catch some of our music, some of the real stuff that's really going on, you know what I mean? It'll happen.
Yeah. You make a good point because I have lived on the East Coast and been to New York several different times. Know some musicians and stuff up there. Performed on some of the smaller stages in New York, but then also on an international scale as well. But my experiences when it comes to Chicago, because we nestle between the gospel and the blues stuff, and a lot of people don't know the history behind the blues and gospel when we start talking about the 20th century with the new technology stuff. But
Right.
particularly with the gospel side with Thomas A. Dorsey, he brought the fundamentals to Chicago. And we have
Exactly.
more since there. So, you have Ricky Diller, you have New Generation Chorale. We can keep going with the names on the
I
gospel
can go for
side.
days. I'm telling you, I can go for
Seriously.
days with that.
And
So
then on the blues side, we can go for days that Muddy Waters, and it expands from there. So that good nestle of the blues and the gospel within Chicago, we have like some of the best, like you said, musicians who then go and set the stage for the world because
exactly.
they have a unique sound, a unique taste, tones, everything that
Yeah, it's just
people be
everything, and
sleeping
even the
on
look.
Chicago. People, the
Yeah,
look
even the
too.
look. You know
People
what I
be
mean?
sleeping on Chicago. Seriously. I can remember one of my boys when I first moved to the East Coast. And when they found out I was from Chicago, he was like, y'all style, y'all just dress differently. He's like, what do y'all be doing in Chicago?
I
I
mean,
say,
we just
hey,
different.
we just very,
Just,
very
you
different.
can't
Very
explain
different.
it. It's a lot of things mixed into the equation. You got some down south. You got some,
Yes.
some Creole folk. You got some, got a lot of bit of everything. And places like New York and LA do too. And they all got their own different thing going on too. That's why those are other cities that make marks in that era.
Right.
Or in that sense. So, but when it comes to Chicago, it's just like they said, we got our own way of doing everything,
Own way.
everything,
Our own way doing.
everything.
We set the mark and the standards very, very high. So with that
Exactly.
being said, connect Chicago blues, from your understanding that, in the blues scene, but then also from the generational perspective, connected to hip hop.
Oh, well, that's simple. There's a lot of blues songs that sample just that we can just start there. I was actually on YouTube the other day and I saw Albert King's song that was sampled in the hip hop, and I was like, dang man, like this stuff. Like they be digging. I don't know if these hip hop artists. I'm quite sure they don't do this research themselves. I'm sure
Right.
they got some kind of team. They like searching for the best thing or the newest slickest thing they can find, and they just going through different files and just listen to different things that may just catch their ear. However, what I mean, blues is to me, one of the most sampled things in
Yeah.
genre style on the planet. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like for instance, I play Wayne Baker Brooks. He's got a track on one of his CDs with Twister. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like this is a blues artist in Chicago, one of Chicago's most hip hop urban rappers. Like, how does that work? But it does because at the end of the day, it's all the same message. That's
Yeah.
what folks don't get.
Yeah.
Like it's all the
That's
same
sad.
message, it's just different perspectives, different age groups
Mhm.
that it appears to, or appeals to. Let me say it that way. Young folks, of course, that rap going because it's got the up tempo beat. You know what I mean? The bass is loud and there's driving. You got the thumping going on. You know what I mean? They make good dance music. You
Right.
know what I mean? It all makes good dance music because if you look at blues, you got the bass going on, you got the beats, you got everything going on, and it's gonna make you feel good to where you get up and you just want to share with the world how this music is making you feel by way of expressing yourself in a form of moving your body that shows that you happy, which is we call dancing. So at the end of the day, it's like, how could they not be compared to be the same thing? Just because the beats are syncopated differently, or there's a chord transition that's happening that's slightly different than what that this genre uses. Nah, it's to me it's about the message.
It's about the
You know
message.
what I mean? It's about the message. It doesn't matter the beat. The blues is in every style of music. If you on a R&B track talking about your girl left you and
That's
you
still
mad that
blues.
she gone, that's blues. You
That's
just put an
blues.
R&B flavor to it. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Put a little urban beat to it where it's kind of in between, but that's blues. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? At the end of the day, if you were looking at the mix of blues and gospel, if you listen to any slow like gospel song and it's talking about what the devil did to them and how he didn't set this up and made it, that's basically
That's
gospel
blues.
blues. Like
That's gospel
you
blues.
basically sharing with the world
That's
how this man then changed some stuff in your life and
yeah.
made your life apparently bad at this
Yeah.
situation or in this situation. So at the same time, man, like people need to understand that what they say is blues or not is always and will be blues.
Always.
It will always be that. The blues is simply, basically, to me, expressions of what you feeling in your life and how you deem to express it. We got happy blues, we got sad blues, we got blues that make you feel crazy. It's all kinds of stuff. So at the end of the day, it all relates. I mean, that's just my opinion. So
No, you I think it's really interesting when we talk about the blues, and because for us growing up in America, growing up in an urban city like Chicago, and the different extras that happen within the Black community. And we find a way to express ourselves through music, through the blues. And like you said,
mhm.
happy blues, sad blues, whatever. We're gonna talk about it and we're gonna keep moving through the day. But I find it
Exactly.
interesting that when we dig a little deep into like the political scene that we have currently in America, and they're trying to erase us from this scene. Um, when we think about all of the contributions that our people that look like us have made to music, to just to America, period.
Mhm.
If you try to erase all of that, you're throwing away a whole lot. You're throwing away
Yeah,
so much that not only will leave the country about as bland can be.
you just took the word out of my mouth. In my mind, if I had to think in a food aspect, this is unseasoned chicken. Like you literally take the flavor out of this world. Like,
Yes. So when we talk about the blues for the future, so I have a like two-part question for you. So when we talk about the blues for the future and moving it forward with hip hop, with other elements, and as we are moving into new forms of technology and new things, what do you think is our role as musicians, as artists, to take what we didn't get from the elders and learn from the elders in order to move and push it forward? Because as much as people try to erase us, we're not going anywhere. So, what do you think the blues, or just within our community, us preserving our history, preserving the blues or whatever, how do you see that pushing the pushing things forward, moving forward with the future, how do you see the blues, Chicago blues particularly, elevating us to another level?
Well, a number one way that it definitely could elevate us to another level is if it was promoted more.
Okay.
Number one, you got so much hip hop and all this rap and all of this stuff going on, and that's always being promoted that the kids don't even know. A
Yeah.
lot of them now they don't even know what blues is.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what, like I ain't listening to that country music.
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand that this is a part of their roots. This is even a part of what you're listening to. You know
Right.
what I mean? This all started a part of that. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like I think if it was promoted more, because when I have seen some youngins on the blues set, and they saw youngins or young guys like myself or other young guys that's on the scene that's playing out, and they saw that we were happily doing this, like having a bunch of fun doing it, and they was just like, "Man, y'all do stuff like this all the time?" Yeah,
Right.
this is what I do. I do this every day.
Yeah.
Wait, what? What? Wait, this ain't just a special show? Oh no, this is blues. Yeah, blues happen every day. Well, how can I find out? Oh, no problem. And you know what my job is at that point? Is to point them in any direction. I'll give you a backstory real quick. I was just in Florida, right? And me and Deontay were on tour with Wayne.
Okay.
And y'all, you already know Deontay, that's grandma, that's my boy, man. Me and him road dogs. We Ace Boone Coons, right?
Right.
Well, we like to go wherever we go. It don't matter where we going to, and we going to hoop. As I mentioned earlier, I got an injury now, trying to do all of that stuff. But anyway,
Thinking
we
you
gonna find us a
21.
basketball court. We're gonna find us a basketball
Yeah.
court. So while we hooping, right? While we hooping, it was dry that day at the park. Like I think it was like Monday. So
Okay.
no, it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday, and I already know in basketball knowledge, like Sundays, most guys ain't gonna come out to the hoop because they just got through partying all weekend. They trying to recover. They gotta go to work Monday. They don't want their body all sore and all of that. So it ain't gonna be too many folks, which we expected. However, there's gonna be some that do come. So we out there hooping. We out there playing with a couple of young guys that was already out there. But then another young guy come out and before he started playing, he turns his music on and we just go to playing or whatever. So as we playing, I'm starting to notice his selection of music, and I'm just like, I look at Deontay and I'm like, yo, you hear this? He like, yeah. He like, yeah, bro, musician. Just like that. Now, we in Florida. We don't know this dude. We ain't never seen him before in our life, but we in Florida. We automatically knew he was a musician by the selection of his music. Why? Because only musician would listen to gospel music while you at a basketball court playing basketball. Only a musician would do that. Only a musician. You either gotta really love gospel music that much, and 9 times out of 10 you play something, or you sing or something. You know what I mean? You got some kind of connection to church. So we did. Hey yo, what you play? Oh, I play drums. And automatically there was a connection. So guess what happened? As we playing ball, now we got two connections. We like to play ball, we like to play music. Cool. All right, man. Well, what y'all down here doing? Well, you boys ain't from down here. Where y'all from? We from Chicago. What y'all down here for? Now it leads into what we down here for. Oh, we on tour playing music. Playing music? Like what? Like playing church stuff? Oh no. What? What y'all playing? Are we playing blues? Blues. Man, I can show you the text message right now. Like, dude, because I got his number and we linked up and all of that. He was like, bro, I've been dying to find something like this. Now he's living in his own city and don't know about none of the blue stuff that goes on there. Wow. What does that tell us?
Right.
And here I am, a foreigner, coming to his city, pointing him in the directions of where this stuff is happening.
Right.
There's a disconnect.
Yeah.
That just clearly we just gonna call a spade a spade. That's a disconnect. If this young man doesn't know that in his own community this is happening, these are the places you go to find out where, or how to get yourself connected, there's a disconnect. So what did we do? We connected them.
Right.
When we made our December run in Florida this past December, I met a guy named Reggie Sears. Reggie is a kid prodigy down in Florida. He's been playing blues since he was 6 years old. Wayne's father, Lonnie Brooks, brought him on stage at the age of 6. So
Okay.
he's been a kid prodigy ever since then. He's about 32, 33, 34, somewhere around that age. But I met him the last tour we did, and I did some work with him while I was out there. That happened again. So he called me. We hooped that, like I said, that Monday. I had to play with Reggie that Wednesday at their jam.
Okay.
And I said, cool, perfect way to connect this guy to this scene, to this whole thing, to keep it all going. So what do? I called him up, yo, there's a jam happening tonight, man. You said you want to get connected. Here's your opportunity. Meet me at such and such and such. All right, cool. I'll see y'all there. He gets down there and he's just blown away.
Wow.
Number one, he's blown away because there's other young folks on this scene that he didn't. In his mind, he thought he was going to walk into a room just full of
With
old
old
folks.
folks. Yep. Yep.
And I don't mean to be disrespectful,
No, no,
but
I
at the
get you.
same time, this is what he thought. I know this is what he thought. But then to come in there and he see a group of guys that's like in his age group, because he was like 27.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? He was blown away. Now, at the end of the night, he gets connected to Reggie. Reggie always look for other guys to hire because he be looking for drummers and all this. Now he
Right.
got another guy who's been looking to get into this opportunity who just found a way in.
That's
And
what's
now we have a new person in the music, in the mix, in the genre, helping to keep it alive. Because guess what he's going to do when he meet a person just like that?
yes.
He's going to do the same thing.
Yeah. That's what's up. That's what's up. So going back to what we were talking about earlier with the elders and um knowing just how it keeps the messes going on in the music scene, particularly in Chicago, with this back and forth and like you said, respect. Um, talk a little bit more about that based upon some of your war stories in the music industry, but particularly how because a lot of the elders have been burnt on so many things and how they are just completely turned off and brash about how they connect with some of the folks like within your age group who have their own families, got a whole, following of folks who, revere you, respect you, and all of that other stuff. But the elders are coming on, well, I've been in this for so how long, and they come and talk to you a certain kind of way. Talk to me a little bit more about your experiences and how you help to, like you said, bridge the gap between the elders to like, no, you can't treat us like this. We trying to keep it alive and keep it moving forward.
I'll say this. In that area, I feel like everybody starts at a place and then they end up at a place. And here's what I mean by that. When you're young, you start off aggressive, you start off ready to attack back. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You in the places to where like I ain't taking nobody's shit.
Yeah.
That's what you talking about. Kiss my ass. Oh, so many things can go in your mind.
Yeah.
And that's where your position will be. But then over time, you see me, I'm a chess player. And, I learned early how to, and don't get me wrong, I have moments as to where I drop the ball, a lot of them, you know what I mean? But I have moments where it's to where I got to understand that this is a moment I need to channel my energy. I need to channel my aggression, my anger at this moment, because if I lose too much control, I can end up hurting myself.
Yes. That
And
part.
see,
That
that's the lesson that gets taught
that
in
part.
this situation because, I'm all for stand your ground, demand your respect. You know what I mean? I'm all for that, for the right cause, for the worthy cause. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not for, and I ain't gonna say anymore because I never was here, but at the end of the day, I'm not for the just flat out just doing the stupid, just going all out and going crazy. I mean, to the point to where you fighting and doing all of that because,
Yeah.
like, again, that hurts you. You know what I
You
mean? That
got a whole
makes
families first of all,
you
sir.
feel what I'm saying. So you can't just
Right.
be thinking about your feelings. You know what I mean?
Right.
But again, this is all things that I feel is learned over time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We all seen the Temptations movie. We all seen movies where somebody rose from being nothing to being just on top of the earth.
Right.
And we also saw that behavioral change.
Mm-hmm.
They came in honest, humble, nice, outgoing people. But then once they got that fame and the money started coming, they got the money, and
Yeah.
now they secluding themselves from their family and their friends and all of that stuff. Now they snobs and they treat you like this and they talking down. We a lot of people get that thing going. You know what I mean? It's to me, it's an ego thing. I paved the way for myself to get to a certain place. Now I reached this place, and I paid my dues, and now I'm gonna talk shit and it's just a cycle that continues. You know what I mean? When it doesn't have to be that cycle. I'll say this with all of the things that I've experienced in terms of this sort of thing and how people who's got to a certain place, the place that I have not experienced that egotistical treatment or experience from people just giving it to you or dishing it out to you. The only place that I've experienced, and this is just recently when I went to the blues cruise. Here's why. Here's why. On that cruise, pretty much everybody's at a certain level. I mean, at the same level.
Yeah.
There's really nobody but these are all the best of the year.
Okay.
Or however they judging this. So with everybody being at the same level in terms of where we are in the blues career wise, you know what I'm saying, which is why we all are here. Nobody is giving that kind of energy. Everybody has the energy of, hey, what's up? How you doing? What's going on? And it's a networking thing. It's a real, true networking thing. Like, it's the best networking I've seen on the blues scene thus far. You know what I mean? Where people actually are genuine in it. Like, ain't nobody just, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. You're going to get your people who just, who kind of, who wall off themselves a little bit. Introverts is introverts. You can't change them for nothing. They're going to be who they are. But at the end of the day, like, that was an experience where I really got to meet some people who were genuinely happy to meet me as well as I was happy to meet them. And we talked about where we are in our careers and being here, what it took to get there, and all of this. These are genuine, humble, real stories of people who was hungry to get to where they are. Now they're here. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that part, and it ain't the sad part about it is it's not just in blues.
Yeah.
We see it more with the big superstars. You know what I'm saying? We see it more with that. However, it's in everything though. You know what I mean? If you feel like you done got up off the bottom of the totem pole a little bit better than everybody else, now some people just start to kind of wet it. Like, all right, yeah, you still on the totem pole though. That's the problem. You ain't even off it. Like, get to the next one first before you get to, you know what I mean? Before you get to going through all that. But however, people do it. You know what I mean? The problem is, again, you got the elders who just feel because they've been here and they've been doing this so many odd years and they done made a name and they've been to this place and been to that place, you know what I mean? And they done paid a certain amount of dues that they just feel like they can just talk to you. And some of them, I don't even know if they realize what's really going on, what they really doing. I think that because we got to also remember too, back in the day, the way they talk to each other, They practice that talk. What up, big money? Stuff like that. Like they practice this ego talk, and it just kind of got carried over, like carried out of hand to me. Like, now it's like, man, now big money is, he making all the big dollars, he working all the gigs, and now they don't even hear themselves accidentally hating.
Yeah, that is the truth.
He getting all the money, he making that. You kind of making yourself a hater. You don't even realize you're training yourself to be a hater. Now, when you get to a certain age and it just click and you get mad about something, you just stay angry and you grumpy all the time. Guess what your disposition gonna be? It's probably, yeah, man, they just hiring all the young folks. I can't get no job. Like, man, they won't hire me for nothing. All they do is call y'all. You know what I mean? And it becomes that, and it's like, why don't you take that energy? You a big dog. You got so much knowledge. You've been out here so long. You got all these connections. You'd have been here and been there. Take that energy. Take the gift that you got. Go in the lab and create something. Because I guarantee you'll get the same. What I've learned is it's not bias. When these club owners are calling, when these festivals are calling or hiring, it's not biased. It's based on the work you got put out at the time. So if you're not getting certain kind of work or you're not getting certain kind of calls, 9 times out of 10 it got something to do with your business.
Yeah, that's true.
Flat out.
That's true.
Flat out.
That
If
is
you
true.
ain't getting these calls, maybe it's time for a new album. Maybe it's time for a new single. Maybe it's time, you do some better promoting for yourself. Maybe it's time you just flip your whole persona altogether because whatever you're doing may not be working altogether. Try something different. Like people are afraid of change. It's getting back to that again.
Yeah.
People are afraid of change. Like they just think what worked 10 years ago gonna work
It's gonna
forever. Nah,
continue to work.
sometimes it just don't.
It don't.
Sometimes it just say, you know what, this idea is just overplayed, it's played out. It's
Yeah.
like I done overworked it.
Yeah.
I need something fresh.
Yeah.
Go with something fresh, go do something new. But if you're afraid of that, all you're going to do is just trample and stample over people who's actually trying to do it because you're mad and jealous and angry with yourself and insecure in yourself because you ain't did it yet or you can't do it or you refuse to do it. So, and all of that becomes that to me.
Yeah. No, you make a good point. I never thought about it from that angle. Because as we know on the biblical side, spiritual, your words are life. You speaking that into life. So when you keep, talking that, and then if you're not channeling it the right way and have the good support system and people around you be like, okay, let's talk different, let's do something differently, it's going to be festering you and you're going to start hating because you're angry at yourself. So I never thought about that, but that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and we look at it from the biblical standpoint because that's what we were taught it from
Right.
as a basis. Other folks may look at it as something else. However, it's all the same.
Yeah.
What you believe, if you tell yourself 21 times something, you're going to believe that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you focus on something for a long period of time, you're going to believe that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful what you feed yourself because what you feed yourself, you're going to regurgitate it later.
That's a
And
fact.
that's what people don't realize. Like, so when I see a person, I don't practice talking about nobody. I don't talk about nobody behind their back. I ain't got no bad words to utter about you. When I see you, it's all love, hey, smiles, all of that. Why? Because I'm producing good energy. So every time you see me, that's what you're going to expect.
That's a fact. So one last question, but you already know we gonna continue this conversation more and more. What do you see for yourself in terms of not just the blues, but what's that next thing for you? What is it that you want to now move on to and moving forward for the future?
Two things. Creation is first. Creating something, and it's going to lead to the other. Creating something now is to where I can leave my mark in the world. Something that says that you can always say, that's Jaymo. He a part of that. You know what I mean? He helped whatever it is I helped do.
Right.
He was a part of that. And because at the same time, doing stuff like that creates legacy.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest goals right now. Like I have a big family. I have 6 kids and I have a wife. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about legacy. I got 5 boys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I need that name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need them to want to have a reason to carry that name on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I need them to see that daddy worked hard to put it in a certain place. And I need y'all to work hard to keep it up there or progress it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's what it is for me. It's real simple.
That's a good follow-up right there. So I thank you so much for your time, sir. It's been wonderful.
Anytime.
And I always learn and get extra stuff for you. But like I said, we're gonna keep this conversation going because I think it's needed because you hit on so many different points in terms of when you travel and folks don't even know what's in their own communities and know that the blues is in their own community and also hip hop is a more progressive version of blues and all that other stuff. So we are now in charge of putting that history out there and getting it out there. So I thank you
So
for taking the time and doing. And as we continue to move forward with our projects that we're gonna, move forward with, I'm excited about what the future has for the blues, but then also putting that Chicago name out there.
You already know, man. And like I said, just looking at that little thing myself, with connect the homie to all of that, just let me know that there really is true work that we got to do. So it's all coming together, man. It's got to be right, though. It can't be no anything. Like I told my wife with her shop, like this work that need to be done, we gonna get it done once and right. Because at the end of the day, I ain't trying to have people come back later talking about, oh, well, no, this ain't done, and now you got to shut
Hello.
down again. That's just money being spent. No, do it right the first. I believe in doing right the first time. You ain't got to come back to it later.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, our thing gonna get going, and it's gonna hit so hard because we already looking at the fact that we got a lot of work to do just by what happened with me in Florida. So yeah, it's gonna be a definitely a great experience, and I know we can't wait, but we got to because right.